In this myth, the survivors tell of a prophecy, one in which a queen rises from the ashes of the forgotten New York City. But no one knows, after flame and fight, who will reclaim the territory from the Guardians. Imagine New York City abandoned, its streets silent, skyscrapers swallowed by vines, its subway tunnels dark as ancient caves. No footsteps, no voices, just an eerie stillness stretching across the city's bones. What if this concrete jungle, this towering empire, was no longer ours to claim? What if something else moved in to take its place? A creature. One that has haunted campfire tales and dark forests, known only as a shadow, a glimpse in the night. Bigfoot. It's said to be the last remnant of a forgotten time, a being more adapted to hidden realms than concrete sprawl. But what if, in our absence, it adapted? What if Bigfoot entered the heart of our greatest city and made it its own, moving like a phantom through empty buildings, claiming territories and shadows, learning the pathways of our world? A creature, both primitive and aware, leaving traces of itself in the corners of a city lost to time. For Bigfoot, it's more than survival. It's a struggle between wilderness and ruins, myth and memory. And the unsettling part? What if it happened? What if this is the world we leave behind? One where something ancient would thrive in our place. If the world fell silent, and in that silence, something ancient and patient stirred. The end didn't come with a roar, but with a quiet shiver that swept across every street and every skyline, leaving behind the hollow shells of lives we once called our own. Steel and glass, cracked and faded, the hum of humanity, reduced to a mere echo, drifting through an empty world. They say there are creatures that know when to wait, beings whose wisdom runs deeper than our cities, older than our stories. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, silent and elusive, a presence more than just a name, a shadow just beyond sight, moving at the edge of our vision and our understanding. For so long, we looked for them in the wilderness, never imagining that they might be looking back. But now, in a world abandoned, they move in, drawn by the very places we once claimed as our own. Where humans saw towers and sidewalks, they see hiding places, new paths waiting to be forged. This is not the story of our end, but of their beginning. A journey of something almost mythical, stepping into the light we left behind. So in a single moment, the world shifts. An unforeseen catastrophe, whether natural or human-made, will silence the city. On day 0, humanity will leave its mark. All its sounds, all its lights, extinguished, leaving an emptiness, a vast stillness to be filled. Survival is a dance, an ancient rhythm that pulses in the marrow of all creatures. And for Bigfoot, it's a rhythm they've learned by heart. In dense forests, under starlit skies, they were shaped by centuries of hiding, listening, adapting. They became masters of silence, ghosts moving through shadowed groves, their steps lighter than a leaf's fall. Imagine a creature so attuned to its world that it senses danger before it arrives. It knows which paths to walk, which waters to drink, which nights to remain still and unseen. While we built walls in cities, they built a life in the wild, honing instincts so sharp they could sense our approach before we even saw them. And in a world fractured by disaster, those instincts are their compass, guiding them through landscapes now reshaped by silence. These are creatures that can make a meal of anything the earth provides. The leaves, the roots, the small creatures that scurry underfoot. Each a gift in a world stripped bare. Their survival is an ancient knowledge, a whisper from the earth that teaches them how to live, how to continue, even in the midst of ruin. And so, as humans disappear, Bigfoot begins again, stepping through the wreckage with the grace of a phantom, yet the resilience of stone. Days turn to weeks, and silence settles over New York. Wildlife cautiously returns, reclaiming the streets, and the city's heartbeat fades, replaced by the gentle hum of nature. Bigfoot, venturing cautiously, moves into the silent landscape, sensing the absence, exploring the edges. When the world grew still, they began to move. From the mountains, cloaked in the mist, to the winding rivers that cut through fields and forests. They followed paths carved by water and wind, older than memory. Migration, for them, isn't driven by restlessness, but by an instinct as steady as the turning of the stars. And so, Bigfoot travels through valleys that were once bustling towns, across fields now choked with wild growth. They trace the borders of our world, following the veins of rivers and the call of the trees, until at last they come upon it. New York City, now transformed into a concrete wilderness, a jungle of towers and vines. Here, the roads are rivers of stone, the buildings mountains of glass and steel, and the parks, thick with untamed life, have grown into dark forests. Beneath the fractured skyline, they find new sanctuaries. The tunnels beneath the streets, the rooftops, now open to the stars, the overgrown parks that stretch like emerald canopies through the center of this abandoned place. This city, once ours, now breathes with a different rhythm, a pulse of wildness creeping back to reclaim the space. And in this new wildness, Bigfoot finds a home. It's as if the city has waited, holding its breath until now, until the moment these silent watchers step across its threshold. What was once human territory is becoming something else. A place where myth and reality blend in the shadows of a world reborn. By now, the city is nearly unrecognizable, a place emptied of human presence. Bigfoot's wanderings lead it deeper into the maze of structures and streets. Each movement is one of careful exploration, of cautious curiosity, as the creature takes its first steps into a world now abandoned. In the concrete corridors and rustling iron frames, Bigfoot finds a new kind of forest. Buildings, towering and crumbling, become cliffs shrouded in shadow. Here, camouflage is effortless, merging with stone and steel as they once did with bark and moss. They are masters of concealment, creatures shaped by centuries of evasion, blending effortlessly into a world now unfamiliar to any human gaze. Among these ruins, they move as ghosts, drifting silently through shadowed alleyways and overgrown courtyards. Even in this urban jungle, nature reclaims her place, spreading vines over steel, letting trees rise through asphalt, softening the hard edges left by humanity. Central Park, with its thickets and wild groves, becomes a sanctuary at the heart of the silent metropolis. The trees cast deep shadows, perfect for evading watchful eyes, while the rooftops and balconies offer vantage points where they can look out over their domain, unobserved. In the hollows and crevices of our abandoned world, Bigfoot finds spaces to inhabit and transform. In this place, they are not intruders, but rather guardians, reclaiming what we so hastily built and then lost. The initial shock of silence has faded. 6 months in, Bigfoot begins to understand this city as something more than an empty landscape. It adapts to urban terrain, finding places to rest in shadows, moving freely under the cover of night. To wander an empty city is to explore a world layered in secrets. For Bigfoot, the landscape holds new mysteries, silent clues left by our hurried lives, broken signs, deserted marketplaces, paths that lead to nowhere. Yet, with each step, they come to know this city's pulse, its hidden roots, and unspoken language. They roam the winding staircases, ascending the fire escapes, and pass through silent streets, mapping the spaces between buildings, learning the routes that twist through the skeletal remains of our civilization. The subway tunnels, like veins running beneath the earth, provide hidden passageways where they can move unseen, merging with the city's underground labyrinth. Here, in these canyons of glass and steel, their instincts sharpen, each corner revealing new terrain. This place, where once only machines and men moved, becomes their domain. They navigate with a primal intuition, guided not by signs or symbols, but by a sense of deeper and older wisdom, a feeling for the land itself, as if the city speaks to them, whispering its secrets in the silence. 1 year into the silence, patterns emerge. Bigfoot moves with ease, finding food among rooftops and cracks, adapting to a life among concrete and vines. Slowly, it becomes familiar with its new world, establishing a rhythm within the city's stillness. Even in decay, the city provides. Beneath the broken facades and rusted scaffolding, life persists, growing in cracks and shadows. Plants flourish in abandoned lots, while creatures of the city, birds, squirrels, even rats, make their nests in hidden corners. Bigfoot, too, learns to forage here, adapting to this strange new landscape, with the skill of a creature that has survived for centuries on the fringes. From overgrown gardens and rooftops tangled with weeds, to the fruits of wild trees that line the forgotten paths, each offering becomes a part of their urban diet. They scavenge, taking what the land offers, what was left behind. When night falls, they venture into the parklands and riversides, where berries, herbs, and even the occasional fish will feed them, sustaining them in this city of shadows. Where we saw concrete, they see opportunity, each meal a quiet acceptance of this place, as if New York City itself is gifting them sustenance. It's a communion with the urban wilderness, a subtle rhythm that echoes their life in the forests, a reminder that even in desolation, life always finds a way to bloom. Time continues its quiet advance. 2 years have passed, and Bigfoot marks its territory, learns safe routes, and finds quiet refuge within the crumbling city. Each passing day draws them closer to the land, deepening their bond with this abandoned place. As they adapt, they gather. Solitary figures converging into a quiet kinship. In this abandoned world, Bigfoot finds connection. Where once they lived in the hidden valleys and dense forests, bound by distance, here, in the heart of the empty city, they begin to move as one, united by the silence that surrounds them. Their gatherings are subtle, rare glimpses of shadows moving together, almost as one, a communion that exists beyond language. In the overgrown ruins, they mark territory, not with force, but with presence. A shared understanding that each belongs, that each has a place. Perhaps there's even an unspoken bond, something beyond words that connects them. A kinship built on survival, on the ancient rhythm that binds all living things. They roam together, finding strength in unity, learning from one another as they explore this new domain. And in the vastness of this human desert, they are no longer scattered souls, but a silent community, moving as a single heartbeat within the city's empty shell. Just 5 years after the Exodus, the city is transformed. Everything has grown thick. Trees push through their concrete overlords, and nature thrives in unexpected places. Bigfoot has carved out its own realm, moving within a habitat transformed by wildness. It is now a silent inhabitant, part of an unseen community. Silence is their language. To survive, they have mastered the art of absence, of moving without sound, of communicating without a trace. In this world, without people, they speak in ways we cannot hear, in faint echoes, in the subtle hum of the wind through open windows, in leaves rustling where no breeze should move them. A language that we might recognize as a distant echo, a low-frequency hum, a whisper carried across city blocks. They communicate not in words, but in gestures. A gentle mark on a tree, a stone turned just so, a faint call that fades into the night. As they navigate the ruins, they leave no trace of their presence, moving like shadows bound to the earth by silence, as if they have learned to be the very air, the quiet that blankets the city. The rare survivor who wanders here may feel it, a sense of something just beyond sight, a language of the invisible, shared only by those who know how to listen. A decade passes. The city is no longer a place of rigid streets and towering buildings, but a landscape softened by time. Bigfoot lives seamlessly within this ecosystem, each movement a testament to survival and adaptation. In a city long left behind, Bigfoot begins to leave signs, small marks that hold meaning only for those who understand. A clawed tree trunk, a rock arranged in a forgotten alleyway, the faint imprint of a hand against dust-covered glass. These symbols are more than warnings. They're a map, a silent story of territory, of journeys, of survival. For each marking is a message, a way to pass down knowledge, to tell others of what lies ahead and what dangers remain. Just as we once left our words on walls and buildings, so too do they carve their marks into this place. In the empty subway stations and deserted plazas, these symbols are like echoes, reminders of who has passed through and who remains. And perhaps, as the city fades and nature reclaims it, these signs are not just marks of survival, but of connection, a shared understanding between beings who tread lightly, who respect the land, and who find meaning in the quiet presence of one another. In the ruins, their symbols become their voice, telling the story of a new era where myth and memory intertwine. ' It has now been 15 years, and the lines between city and forest continue to blur. Bigfoot becomes indistinguishable from the landscape, a quiet presence as natural as the trees themselves. In this place, they have moved from observer to inhabitant, from hidden wanderer to part of the city's soul, its consciousness. Among the ruins, artifacts remain, symbols of a vanished world. For Bigfoot, these objects hold no names, yet perhaps they carry whispers of meaning, traces of our once persistent presence. A child's toy buried in weeds, a book dissolving in rain, a pair of shoes cast off in a haste. They move among these remnants, touching, observing. Do they wonder at the shapes, the strange materials, or is this simply another part of the land? Just one more set of textures in a place that's slowly becoming their own. There's a quiet reverence in how they pass through, never disturbing, only bearing witness. In their gaze, the relics of our world lose their meaning and become only fragments, signs of a life that came and went, soon to be folded back into the earth. And as the seasons wear down our relics, Bigfoot endures. They are unburdened by our memories, needing no explanations, simply existing amid what remains. To them, these human objects are markers of a transition, a passage from our dominion to theirs. "20 years since humanity's departure, Bigfoot has mastered urban survival, finding new sources of food, shelter, and safety. The creature knows the rhythms of this place, following the natural cycles that now govern New York City. In this world, now stripped of its noise, life continues in hushed abundance. Bigfoot, too, finds its place within the rhythm of renewal. They feed not with haste, but with a patience born from years spent in harmony with nature's pulse. From rooftop gardens and untamed parks, they take only what is needed: a handful of berries, perhaps some leaves, nourishing themselves from a city that is slowly surrendering to the wilderness. The waterways, the trees, and the hidden groves, they have become the city's new heartbeat, and for Bigfoot, each meal is a part of this pulse. They drink from rivers once burdened by waste, now clear and flowing. They gather plants now free to thrive in cracks and corners, quietly reclaiming spaces that we once paved and walled in. It's a communion, a return to the simplicity of survival. In this place, life thrives not because it is watched or tended, but because it is left alone, each creature claiming only its share, with reverence for the fragile abundance that holds them all. 25 years, and the city has taken on a life of its own, governed by nature's rules. Bigfoot adapts to the seasonal changes with ease, moving through winter's harshness, spring's bounty, summer's warmth, and autumn's gentle decay. Each season, a familiar companion, but not without its inherent dangers. Bigfoot always has to be on the watch, for perhaps someone still remains. As the seasons pass, this place becomes more than shelter. It becomes home, and the chances of a human survivor lessen. For so long, Bigfoot moved from place to place, avoiding human encroachment, staying hidden. But here, in the city's quiet ruins, they find a stillness they've never known. A place to rest, to remain. The winds that sweep through empty streets bring only the scent of trees and rain, of soil and roots. Each corner, each shadow, becomes familiar, a part of their world, woven into the fabric of their lives. They sleep beneath the stars that shine through cracks in glass and rusted beams, under a night sky now free from the glare of city lights and the violence of humanity. In this place, the city itself begins to breathe in rhythm with them, becoming part of their story, part of the land they now call their own. A life once spent in hiding now finds roots, a quiet yet profound return to a world that has always belonged to the wild. 3 decades, and Bigfoot is no longer a visitor. The city is their kingdom, a place as familiar and as cherished as the forests it once roamed. In these ruins, it finds a new kind of belonging, a place where it hopes to live in peace. Winter. It descends with a quiet ferocity. Snow fills the city streets, blanketing the remnants of human life in a cold, white silence. For Bigfoot, the season is a familiar adversary, one they've endured countless times. Yet here, it takes on new dimensions. The tall buildings offer windbreaks, while underground tunnels shield against the harshest of cold, like caves woven through stone. Beneath the snow, food becomes scarce, and survival demands even greater wisdom. They move with care, seeking shelter in hidden alcoves, conserving warmth and energy as they forage for any remnants of sustenance. Nature, harsh and beautiful, provides, even in its most unforgiving season. In the heart of winter's silence, they press on, resilient as ever, like a quiet fire burning low but steady. This is a trial of endurance, of patience, of understanding one's limits. In the deep of winter, they are bound to the earth, to its rhythm, moving only as needed, conserving for a future yet unseen. 50 years have passed, and the city is nearly unrecognizable. It is an urban wilderness, a place transformed by trees and streams, by birdsong and silence. Bigfoot is now one of many creatures here, a resident of this ancient, quiet land. Spring arrives like a breath after a long silence. The snow melts, filling rivers and streams, washing away the traces of winter's hold. Trees burst forth with blossoms, and wildflowers bloom in cracks and crevices, painting the city skeleton with splashes of color. For Bigfoot, this season of renewal is a reminder of resilience, of life's boundless capacity to begin again. They roam through this transformed landscape, finding food with ease, but not without competition, breathing in the richness of a world reborn. The city, now alive with animals and hum of insects, offers a vibrant tapestry, teeming with life that renews itself without end. Everyone is here to survive. In this season, survival begins simple, joyful. It's a time of abundance, of strength, of quiet renewal. For a creature that has lived on the margins, this is a time of belonging, but also a time of dominance, A season that needs no hiding, only the calm assurance of life returning as it always does, in its own time. A century slips by. The legends of the city are long forgotten. All its workers, musicians, poets, movie stars, stockbrokers, the working man, the working woman, all replaced by new myths of creatures who move silently through the shadow and light. Bigfoot passes knowledge to the young, preserving its connection to the land, ensuring its survival in the years to come. With each season, a new lesson. Spring's renewal, summer's warmth, autumn's fading, winter's stillness. These cycles are ancient, familiar, and in this place, Bigfoot is once again part of that rhythm, a vital part of that rhythm. Each passing year deepens their connection to this land, transforming the city from a strange relic into something more of a true home. The sun's path across the sky, the constellations shifting with each season, the first chill of autumn in the air, they sense it all, understanding these changes with an intuition older than memory. This cycle is the foundation of their survival, a song they have always known, a melody that resonates with every creature, every leaf, every stone. And so life moves on. The city fades further into wildness, each year leaving behind more of what was and bringing forward more of what is. In this place, Bigfoot has not only survived, they have become part of the land's eternal dance. Kings in their own right. "150 years, and only faint memories remain of what was once a thriving metropolis. The city is a mere myth, a place for spirits. And Bigfoot, too, becomes its own kind of myth, a creature deeply woven into the very fabric of this place. With all its wildness, it continues to thrive. It is rare, but sometimes a survivor emerges and wanders into these silent streets, a human, almost always alone, and drifting through the ruins. And in the shadows, unseen, yet always watching, is Bigfoot, the quiet observer. They move without sound, unseen yet ever present, curious yet careful, never disturbing the fragile balance that exists here. Their survival depends on it. There is no real threat, no violence, at least yet. Only a mutual recognition, a silent acknowledgement of shared solitude. The human moves on, never seeing, never knowing, continuing to survive. And Bigfoot remains a silent guardian of this land, watching, listening, connected. Yet he stays a world apart. For here, in this place of silence, they are bound together, these wanderers of the ruins, each adapting, each finding a place in the vastness of an abandoned city, each keeping the other's presence unspoken, a secret held in the shadows. Two centuries have passed, and the ruins of humanity are buried in forest and vine. Bigfoot moves through the remains of a forgotten world, a city that was once, but is no more, finding shelter in places that are now unrecognizable as anything but nature. And only on rare occurrences feels the disturbance of the lone human survivors. Through countless generations, Bigfoot has survived by instinct, by an inner compass that guides without words. Here, in this new world, those instincts remain sharp, honed by a life lived close to the earth, beyond the reach of human understanding. They sense things that we cannot, feel shifts in the land, changes in the weather, a language spoken through the soil, the air, the distant call of a bird. This instinct is their lifeline, a connection to the world that sustains them, an understanding as old as the rocks and as deep as the roots. And it's in this wisdom that keeps them hidden, that binds them to the earth, that they find their solitude, that allows them to live in harmony with a place transformed, yet eternal, a place they have come to call their own. "500 years, and the landscape is wild, dense, filled with life that knows no history of concrete or steel. Bigfoot moves with an ancient wisdom, always watching, bound to the land as deeply as the roots of the trees that now dominate the skyline. There are only whispered tales, a feeling that has no language, that there are others out there, human survivors, who may also be watching, who may also be waiting. And so, they remain, unseen yet present, a shadow woven into the city's quiet fabric. They are no longer intruders, but a vital part of this place, a living reminder of resilience, of patience, of a quiet and boundless endurance. In time, perhaps they will fade into legend, into whispers passed down by those who wander through the ruins, who see the marks on trees, the faint footprints in the dust. Stories will grow around them, as they always have, of a creature, silent and powerful, who lives beyond our reach, who thrives in the heart of a city forgotten by time. For legends are born from silence, from mystery, from the things we cannot see, but somehow, someone knows. And in the end, Bigfoot becomes a part of that legend, a part of the land, a part of the story that stretches beyond memory, beyond time, a myth, enduring as the earth itself. A millennium has passed, and only legends remain. Bigfoot is a story now, a whispered presence, a being of the land itself, bound forever to a place that was once New York, now lost to time and reclaimed by the wild. With each passing generation, they leave marks upon this place, traces of a life spent in a quiet rebellion against the wild's harshest conditions. Trees bent in curious shapes, stones placed in patterns. We've all seen them in the woods, and heard them too, echoes of a language only they understand. These are not remnants of a lost people, but signs of a life lived with purpose, a testament to survival. The city is their canvas, each mark a brushstroke, each shadow a note in the song of their existence. And one day, even these will fade, leaving only whispers, only the faintest traces, only memory held in the land. And in these marks, they live on, long after they're gone. A silent legacy held in the heart of the ruins, a quiet testament to a life that thrived unseen and untouched. 5,000 years into the future, the echoes of humanity are but a distant memory. Bigfoot, too, is an echo, a silent watcher, a part of the landscape that has returned to its primal state, free but not forgotten. For those who remain untouched but forever changed, knowledge is shared, passed down in ways beyond words. A turn of the head, a cautious step, a silent gesture. The young learn from the old, each movement an echo of wisdom as ancient as the trees, a wisdom that has guided them through ages of change, of hiding, of survival. And as they teach, they leave behind a future, one that holds their strength, their silence, their enduring spirit. A legacy shaped not by monuments or books or speeches made by great leaders, but by the earth itself, by the unspoken bond with the land they will forever call home. In this passing of knowledge, they ensure that the rhythm of their lives will continue, a quiet song that hums through generations, untouched, a promise held in the heart of the land they love, and one they have always fiercely protected in the shadows. 10,000 years pass, and the earth continues its cycles. Bigfoot lives on, part of an endless rhythm, a creature bound not to time, but to the land, a silent witness to a world forever in motion. They are her protector. Time moves on, as it always has. Seasons turn, and life rises and falls, echoing through eternity. Bigfoot remains, the silent witness to the passing years, bound to the land in a way deeper than memory, older than words. The city fades back into the earth, its metal rustling, its stone crumbling, becoming part of the soil, a part of the cycle. And through it all, Bigfoot walks, unseen, unheard, yet always present. A being both myth and perhaps reality, both ancient and enduring. And so the cycle continues. Life fades, life renews, and in the heart of it all, in the silence and mystery, is Bigfoot, a legend forever entwined with the land, a presence as constant as the stars above and the earth below them. In the end, the Bigfoot legend is timeless, a creature beyond history, beyond words, living quietly within the land, forever entwined with human history, yet somehow going far beyond it, deeper into the future. But what if, after everything changed, humans somehow survived? And now, their distant relatives want their city back. In this world, New York City became a place unrecognizable. Buildings, once towering symbols of human ambition, now stand as hollow skeletons, their facades crumbling under the weight of time. The hum of life is no longer man-made, but carried in the whispers of rivers slicing through asphalt, and the steady creep of vines over glass and steel. Our world has become an echo, a memory of bustling streets, replaced by silence and shadows. But the city is not entirely forgotten. Far to the north, in the shadowy woods of the Adirondacks, a different kind of life stirs. The bone collectors, silent as the myths they revere, live in secret. Much like Bigfoot, they move unseen. their existence whispered of in fragments. These survivors, hardened by a world lost to catastrophe, gather what remains of the city's guardian. Deep in their hidden enclaves, they collect the bones of fallen Bigfoot to build their shelters, their temples, and their tools. To them, these bones are sacred relics, reminders of the creatures who thrived where humanity could not. And now, their future rests on a prophecy. A leader will rise, a queen, born to guide them back to the city. Her name, Roan. Among the bone collectors, her arrival is spoken of in hushed reverence. She is said to carry the strength to unite her people and the vision to reclaim the city from the wilderness that has consumed it. But their return is not without peril. To re-enter the city is to challenge its silent sentinel, a creature more at home in this new world than they could ever be. And so, New York stands on the edge of an uncertain future. Bigfoot, the last keeper of its secrets, moves like a shadow among the ruins. The bone collectors prepare for their return. Their queen's rise, imminent. The city, now a battleground of myth and memory, waits. And as the forests deepen and the skyline fades into darkness, one question haunts the horizon. When the survivors meet Bigfoot, will humanity's echoes finally find their voice, or be silenced forever? The myths of Bigfoot in New York became whispered tales among the last survivors, far beyond the city's limits. Humanity clung to life in scattered enclaves, scavenging the edges of a world they once owned. The city, with its crumbling towers and empty streets, had faded into legend. A forbidden place, haunted by something powerful and unyielding. For generations, they had heard the stories of what lurked there. A creature older than memory. A giant roaming the skeleton of a once great civilization. But in desperate times, legends become challenges. For the first time since the Exodus, a group of survivors, humans, decided to return to reclaim their city. These weren't the New Yorkers of old. These were battle-hardened, cunning, and fierce fighters who had weathered the collapse of a world. They moved through the streets silently, in tactical formation, their eyes scanning the shadows. They knew what was waiting, or at least, they thought they did. They came prepared with traps, torches, makeshift weapons, and a knowledge born from generations of survival. But Bigfoot had become something different in their absence. It was no longer the creature of the deep forest, but a guardian of this reclaimed city, knowing every hidden alley, every nook, every twisted ruin. It had become the very spirit of New York's forgotten landscape, silent yet always watching. And as they crept further into its territory, the ancient instincts they thought they understood turned against them. Suddenly, a roar shattered the night, a sound that rippled through the city's hollow streets, as powerful and primal as the first thunder. The survivors froze, feeling the weight of the city close in around them. Bigfoot was no longer just a legend. It was real, and it was defending its home. One by one, the survivors' traps triggered, but each time the creature moved faster, stronger, striking from the shadows like a ghost. The battle became a game of wits and survival. Humanity's last hope to reclaim the heart of the city, meeting the relentless strength of a creature shaped by both nature and decay. The city became a battleground, each corner a trap, each sound an echo of primal fury. In the end, New York would only have one master, a new ruler standing over the bones of what was, or a last fragment of humanity daring to reclaim its lost empire. But as dawn rose, both Bigfoot and the survivors knew one thing. This city, this forgotten kingdom, was unforgiving. And survival would come at a cost.